Hello guys, Lalapulanab is here making videos for you guys again. Today I'm gonna show you guys step-by-step guide on how you guys can set up your environment or your system in order for you guys to be able to make or to build your own website. There's a bunch of ways you guys can set up your environment. This is one of the way you guys can do it. And for your information, I'm building a PHP based website. So everything what I'm gonna be touching from now will be related to PHP. So without further ado, let's get started. There are three major things. Well, in my perspective, yeah, I can categorize them as major, I guess. Some will not, but for me personally, in my opinion, it's a must things to do for basically any types of website you're trying to build manually from the scratch. And they are: first, download and install your preferred local server. Second, download and install your preferred backend framework. And third, the last one, is to download any preferred front-end template to be applied to your website. As for the first one, you can go for WAM server. Let's go and see WAM server. You can go for WAM server, or maybe XAMPP server, or any new local server out there. I personally use WAM server just because back in my college days I used them while learning, so that's why I kinda stick with WAM server till now. But anyhow, if you not a Windows users, then you have to use a different local server. If I'm not mistaken, WAM server works for Windows users only. You can go to Google and maybe type WAM XAMPP and click on this link to see the differences between them. Scroll down, and as you guys can see here, we have four local server that available for developing PHP website. We have XAMPP, we have WAM, LAMP, and MEM. XAMPP, from my experience, I can say that XAMPP can be used for Windows. WAM also can be used for Windows. LAMP only can be used for Linux, while MEM can only use for Mac. So for Windows users, you can either go for XAMPP or WAM, and for Linux too, or Linux users, you too can go for XAMPP or LAMP. But for Mac users, you can only go for MEM. So there you have it. As for backend framework, I'm going with Yi framework. Let's see, Yi framework. And this is Yi framework. There's a lot of PHP based framework out there, like maybe Laravel. It's also a PHP based framework for building a PHP based website, or any other new framework. But like I said earlier, back in my college days, I have been using this Yi framework for quite some time, so I kinda stick with it. As for the front end template, I'm going with AdminLTE Bootstrap template. Let's go to their website, AdminLTE.io, and hit this live preview buttons. It's a free template. You can download the source code from the main website, AdminLTE.io, and you can go for something else if you want to. Front-end templates is actually debatable, I guess, in terms of using them or not. Some developers will use them, but some also will not and prefer to build their own front-end template from the ground up. If you guys are asking what is front-end template, they are actually the codes that makes up the look of a website. Let's see if you can see now in AdminLTE template. What we have here is a type of website, admin and dashboard type of website. You have this kind of look of a template. But if you want to go for something else, maybe e-commerce kind of website, if you have product that you want to sell to people, maybe you can go for something like web wrap Bootstrap that we have here, live preview maybe. You go here to view demo, or maybe you want to go for something like this. You have products that you want to sell, you can go for the templates that look like this. Or maybe you have a business, you have a company that you want a corporate or business kind of light of template, you can go for that also. And by having a front-end template, it's gonna basically save your time than building or making your own. Instead, you can just use other people's template like we have here, and tweak or adjust something from here and make them look like the way you want them to be, right? But if you still want something that unique only to your own website, I guess maybe you can build them from the scratch yourself. But bear in mind that it's gonna take you quite some time to finish them, let alone to start applying or using them for your website. So for starter, I think better you go with any free front-end template like I'm using right now, AdminLTE template, which is free for now for the sake of learning. So why not, and let's go and start setting up our environment. Disclaimer, I already set up my environment or system, so I will not be able to show you guys how exactly the process will look like. But don't worry, I'm gonna show you guys how to do it correctly, and maybe avoid or help you guys solve some problems that you may or may not encounter while setting up your system. Okay, first install and download your local server. I'm using WAM server, so I recommend you guys to use the same as what I'm using right now. But if you go for XAMPP server, it's up to you. I'm using WAM server. Install the WAM server 64 bits. If your laptop or your PC is 32 bits, you can go with that. So you just need to click once and just wait for the download to pop up. And once the download, you already download, and you can start install them. Click the .exe setup file and run through the setup process. Once you're finished installing your web server, what you have to check or make sure next is you go to your C drive. Make sure that your WAM server folder is here, like I'm right now, WAM, and you have all this kind of content that you have here. And you have, next thing that you have to make sure, you go to your control panel and then go to system, click on this advanced system setting. It will give you this tiny window over here, and click on this environment variables. You have to make sure that on system variable, not user variable up here, but system variable down below here on this path variable. Make sure that once you install you're running your setup process, I'm pretty sure the system asks you which PHP version that you want to go with. You can go with any kind of PHP version that they provide you with. But if it doesn't show up like this, see wam/bin/php.7.2.14, you might encounter some problems in the future. But make sure that you guys add this path over here. But if you don't know how to add them, you can just go to the WAM server folder in C drive, WAM server folder, go to the bin folder and PHP folder. You can go with any version that you think much more stable. Back in my college days, I usually use 5.6 because at that time 5.6 is much more stable, even though at that time 7.0 already been released. But I have this kind of thing that if there's the version of PHP or any kind of thing that have been released, it doesn't mean that release and the latest release version is stable, right? So that's why I'm using the previous version. So this one 7.3.1 is the latest one. and I don't think this one is stable, and I don't think that what I mean by stable is not that the PHP version is unstable. It's stable, but it might not work with other system that we gonna work with while building our website. Maybe it's not working with our template, or maybe it's not working with our backend framework that we're gonna install. That's why I'm using the previous version 7.2.14. PHP is gonna release a new latest version from time to time, but you have to make sure that your chosen backend framework and your template it compatible. It will compatible with your PHP version. That's why I'm using the previous one, 7.2.14. You go double click on that, click up here and copy the path that you have here and place it in here. Double click, or you can click new and just place it over here, but I don't need that because I already did here, and I'm pretty sure that you don't need to do the same way that I did here, because in the setup process it pretty sure will ask you which PHP version that you want to go with. So you can close all of them, and that sum up the first step. So the second step, we have to download and install the back-end framework. In this case, I'm using Yi framework, so you can go to the Yi framework page, www.yiframework.com. Click here on this guide over here and click getting started installing Yi. But before you can install Yi, you have to install Composer first. For Windows, you can just click on this Composer setup exe to download the setup file, or you can go to the Composer website and click on here Composer setup. But if you use Linux or Mac OS, I think Linux you have to use command prompt like we have here on Linux and Mac OS. You have to run the following commands you have to do here, but I'm pretty sure what it does is it does the same thing like in Windows. So, but in Windows it seems like much more easier to just click on here and then you can download it from here and run the setup process. So once you finish install and run the setup process, open your make sure you have to open your CMD command prompt, and in your command prompt just type Composer. If the command prompt give you a feedback like this, Composer version 1.8.4 2019 blah 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 blah, like I have over here, that means your Composer is working just fine. You don't encounter any kind of problems here. So, and I hope it working just fine in your end too. So that's the once you finish installing your Composer, and then you can start installing your Yi. Installing your Yi, basically you're gonna install your backend framework, your Yi application template. So what you can do now, you can copy this line of code that you have here. Once again, open your CMD. I should not close my CMD. But make sure you in your WAM folder first. Go to your C drive, WAM folder, www folder, and this is where you put your project folder. It doesn't matter what kind of website you want to build, this is where you should put it, in your local server www folder. This is where your local server is running. You choose your WAM server, and where to put your project folder is supposed to be in your www folder that you have here, not alias, not apps, not bin, but in www folder. But if you use XAMPP, it's going to be here like WAM server. So instead of WAM, it's going to show as XAMPP. You could go inside XAMPP and you're not going to find www folder here, but you're going to find htdocs, htdocs. htdocs. So go inside that folder. In WAM, we're going to go inside AAA folder, copy this path over here because we want to put our project folder here, our Yi installation or project folder here, and cd, make sure you cd, paste your path and press enter to get in that path. And then you can copy this line over here to install your Yi project folder, Ctrl V to paste, and change this last word that you have here, basic, and change to any kind of project name or name of project folder that you want, maybe my first website, and press enter. And then it's gonna take you a couple of minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, in order for it to download all dependencies needed to make the Yi application template or Yi installation, Yi project folder works just fine. This is how it looks when the you're not encountering any kind of problems. So I'm gonna show you what kind of problem that you might face when you try to run this command line over here. But let's just let the system finish. Download all dependencies and create the project folder, my first website project folder that we have here. Okay, it finished download and install all dependencies needed for the project folder or Yi application template to work just fine. You can see it in your folder, AAA folder. I have my first website here. If you don't encounter any kind of problem, it will give you something like this, something like what I have in my command line here. But sometimes people encounter this kind of problems where it will give you this line, not this line, this kind of error over here. I will show you guys. Go to your Google. It will give you in your command line this kind of error, problem 1, and they ask you for yiisoft, yi2, DEX requires bow asset, of 2.1 stable, 1.11 stable, 2.06. All these kind of problems that looks like this. If it give you this kind of problem when you try to run this line that you have here, when you try to create a project folder that you have here, what you guys need to do is you guys just need to just stay on your command prompt. You don't have to close it. You in your WAM AAA folder right now, right? It doesn't matter in which path you are in right now. You can just run this Composer Global Require FXP Composer Asset plugin over here, command line that you have here, in order for the system to download the dependencies needed when you encounter this kind of problems. If you are asking why I'm not encountering these kind of problems, that just because when I'm download my composer that I have here, if you click on this composer setup, there is this composer might be not up to date. That's why it will give you that kind of this kind of problems that you have here, because you need the latest dependencies that will make the composer work just fine. So in order for you to get the latest plugins, the dependencies needed, you need to run this Composer Global Require FXP Composer Asset plugin, and then you can hit enter. After the command line, after this command line, after you hit enter and it finishes, then you can copy back this line of code over here, copy back, and just paste over here and do what I just did just now, my first website, and click and hit enter, and you will have what I have here in www folder if you use WAM, or in htdocs folder if you use XAMPP. You have my first website here. That's not all in our second step. What you need to do next is you need to test out whether this website is okay or not. In order for you to test out, you have to open or run your WAM server first. I already run it. After you run it, you can click plus over here, tab, new tab, and type localhost, and then you can see here you have the WAM server running over here, and you can see you have your first website, my first website. What you can do, you backslash and then type my first website, hit enter, and click on this web folder you have here, and this is how currently your website looks like. My application, you have home, contact. This is by default Yi application templates gonna looks like, but sometimes you're gonna encounter errors like this. My system working just fine because I already tackled that kind of error, but if your system encounter errors like this, it's gonna be easier if you look at the image. Maybe like this, it asks you for XAMPP htdoc vendor composer autoload, something asking about autoload, or maybe something like this, requires var www html vendor autoload.php. If the system asking you something like this, then your website is not gonna look like this, but instead it will give errors like this, or maybe like this that we have here. If you encounter that kind of error, what you guys need to do is you open your command prompt again, cmd, open your command prompt again, and since you encounter that kind of error in your project folder, just make sure that before you run this line of code that I'm gonna give you, make sure you in that project folder first. So why don't we get that project folder path? So it's gonna be on your C drive, WAM server, www server, your project folder, my first website. Copy this and then cd, paste them, enter. Once you in your project folder, and then you can run composer update. You can run composer update in order for the composer to update all dependencies needed to tackle this kind of problem that we have here. Autoload require some autoload.php or something like this. So after you do that, then your page gonna look like mine over here, and that means your system works just fine. Your Yi application template or your backend Yi framework works just fine. That sums up the second step, which is download and install your Yi framework or backend framework. For the last step is to download any front-end template that you're gonna go with. Me, I'm using AdminLTE template, as I said before. I'm using this template. What I just need to do is go to their website, adminlte.io, and from here I can just download the free version over here. You can click on this download button over here. You can choose either one of them, source code.zip or .tar.gz or gz. Click once and then go to the download process, and it's supposed to be in your download compress over here AdminLTE 2.4.10.zip. This is your template source code. So that's all. That's all for this video. I hope you guys able to set up your environment or system correctly and without errors. All that 3 steps: download and install your local server, download and install your YII framework, and lastly to download your preferred front-end template that you want to go with. If you do encounter some problems that I haven't mentioned on how to tackle or solve them in this video, you guys can leave a comment below and hopefully I can help you guys with that. Now you guys able to start making your own website. I already upload some videos on the first series of making your own website. You guys can visit my channel if you want to have a look at it and maybe follow along to better teach yourself on how to build your own website. I will provide the link of the first series in the description box down below, so have a look at it. That's all for now guys. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to get notified whenever I uploaded a new video. So until next time, see you guys again. Ciao.